Have you ever noticed how some people seem unstoppable? They wake up with purpose. They move with confidence. They finish what they start. They stay disciplined even when motivation disappears. And then there are people who spend years waiting for the perfect moment, years waiting to feel motivated, years waiting to become productive, years waiting for their life to change. But what if I told you that the difference between these two people is often decided in the first hour after they wake up? Think about that for a moment. Before the emails, before the social media scrolling, before the excuses, before the distractions. The first 60 minutes of your day quietly determine how the next 16 hours will unfold. Most people don't realize it. They wake up and immediately hand control of their mind to the world. They check notifications, they react to messages, they consume other people's thoughts. And before they know it, they're living someone else's agenda instead of building their own future. But the most successful people in the world understand a secret. If you win the morning, you dramatically increase your chances of winning the day. And if you win enough days, you win weeks. Win enough weeks, and you win years. Win enough years, and you completely transform your life. Today, I'm going to share 6 powerful lessons that can make you dangerously consistent. Not for one day, not for 1 week, but for the long run. Because consistency is the superpower that turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. So if you're tired of starting and stopping, tired of making promises to yourself and breaking them, tired of watching other people achieve goals that you've been talking about for years, then stay with me. Because the next few minutes could completely change the way you approach every single morning from this day forward. Most people think consistency is something you either have or you don't. They look at highly disciplined individuals and assume they were born with stronger willpower, better habits, or a special kind of mental toughness. But the truth is much simpler and far more empowering. Consistency is not something you are born with. It is something you build, and that process begins with the identity you create for yourself every single morning. The first moments after you wake up are more important than most people realize. In those moments, you are not just deciding what to do, you are deciding who you are. Every action you take sends a message to your brain about the kind of person you believe yourself to be. If the first thing you do is hit the snooze button after promising yourself you would get up, you are teaching yourself that your own words do not matter. If the first thing you do is reach for your phone and spend 30 minutes scrolling through social media, you are teaching yourself that distractions have more control over your life than your goals. On the other hand, when you get out of bed, the moment your alarm rings, when you make your bed, when you sit down to plan your day, read, exercise, or work on something important, you are casting a vote for a different identity. You are telling yourself, I am someone who follows through. I am someone who takes action. I am someone who can be trusted. These may seem like small actions, but over time they create a powerful self-image. Think about a person who wants to get fit. Most people focus entirely on the result. They imagine having a stronger body, more energy, and greater confidence. But the people who actually succeed focus on becoming the type of person who exercises regularly. Instead of saying, I want to lose weight, they begin acting like someone who values health. Every workout becomes evidence of that identity. Every healthy meal becomes proof. The same principle applies to every area of life. The reason many people struggle with consistency is because they are obsessed with outcomes while ignoring identity. They want success without becoming the person capable of creating success. They want confidence without developing the habits that build confidence. They want extraordinary results while continuing to live with ordinary standards. Life does not work that way. Your actions shape your identity, and your identity shapes your future. Imagine 2 people waking up tomorrow morning. They both have similar goals, similar dreams, and similar potential. One person spends the first hour reacting to whatever appears on their phone. The other spends the first hour intentionally improving themselves. At the end of a single day, there may not be much difference between them. After a week, the difference is still small. But after a year, the gap becomes enormous. One person has strengthened discipline hundreds of times. The other has strengthened distraction hundreds of times. Small choices repeated daily create massive differences over time. This is why your morning routine is so powerful. It is not about checking boxes or following a perfect schedule. It is about reinforcing the identity you want to build. Every morning gives you a new opportunity to prove something to yourself, not to the world, not to your friends, not to social media, to yourself. The most disciplined people are not constantly fighting themselves. They have simply practiced the same identity for so long that it has become natural. They do not wake up wondering whether they should do the right thing. They do it because that is who they believe they are. Their habits are no longer tasks. They are expressions of identity. So tomorrow morning, before you think about your goals, think about the person you want to become. Ask yourself one simple question. What would the best version of me do right now? Then do that. It may be uncomfortable at first. It may require effort. But every time you choose discipline over comfort, action over excuses, and growth over distraction, you strengthen a new identity. And once that identity becomes strong enough, consistency stops being a struggle and starts becoming your nature. That is where real transformation begins. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that they need to feel motivated before they take action. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect energy, or the perfect moment to begin. They tell themselves that tomorrow they will feel more inspired, next week they will be more focused, or next month they will finally be ready. But days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and months turn into years. The goals remain the same, while progress remains invisible. What they fail to understand is that motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days you wake up excited and energized, ready to conquer the world. Other days you wake up tired, distracted, and unmotivated. If your success depends on motivation, then your progress will always be inconsistent. This is where momentum changes everything. Momentum is far more powerful than motivation, because momentum is created by action. Motivation is a feeling, but momentum is a force. Once it starts building, it carries you forward even on the days when you don't feel like moving. Think about pushing a heavy vehicle. At the beginning, it feels almost impossible. Every ounce of energy is required just to make it move a few inches. But once the vehicle starts rolling, something changes. The movement becomes easier. The same force that was once holding it back is now helping it move forward. Your habits work exactly the same way. The hardest workout is often the one you haven't started. The hardest chapter to read is the first one. The hardest step toward a goal is the first step. After that, momentum begins to take over. Many successful people understand this principle deeply. They do not rely on motivation because they know motivation is temporary. Instead, they focus on building routines that create momentum. They know that taking action, even when they don't feel like it, creates energy rather than draining it. A person who gets out of bed and goes for a run often feels more energized afterward than they did before they started. A writer who sits down and writes one paragraph usually finds it easier to write the next. Action creates energy, and energy creates more action. This is why the first hour of your morning is so important. It sets the momentum for everything that follows. If your morning begins with purpose, discipline, and productive actions, you create positive momentum that carries through the day. You feel more focused, more confident, and more in control. But if your morning begins with procrastination, endless scrolling, and distractions, you create negative momentum. Suddenly the entire day feels harder. Tasks get delayed. Decisions become more difficult. Productivity drops. Imagine dropping a small snowball from the top of a hill. At first it looks insignificant, but as it rolls downhill, it gathers more snow and becomes larger. Eventually, it becomes powerful enough to transform into something much bigger than where it first started. Momentum works the same way. One productive action leads to another. One completed task creates confidence. One disciplined choice makes the next disciplined choice easier. This is why successful people focus on small wins. They understand that massive achievements are built from tiny actions repeated consistently. They don't wake up trying to conquer everything at once. They simply focus on winning the next moment. They make their bed, they drink water, they exercise, they read a few pages. They complete one important task. These small actions seem insignificant individually, but together they create unstoppable momentum. The truth is that you will never always feel ready. You will never always feel motivated. There will be mornings when your bed feels more comfortable than your goals. There will be days when excuses sound more convincing than discipline. There will be moments when quitting feels easier than continuing. But the people who achieve extraordinary results are not the people who feel motivated every night. They are the people who have learned to act despite how they feel. When you stop waiting for motivation and start creating momentum, your entire life changes. You no longer become a victim of your emotions. You become a leader of your actions. Instead of asking yourself whether you feel like doing something, you simply do what needs to be done. Over time, this approach builds confidence because you realize that your success is no longer dependent on your mood. The next time you find yourself waiting for motivation, remember this. Motivation often appears after action, not before it. Start small if you must. Take one step, complete one task, do one productive thing. That small action can trigger momentum, and momentum can carry you much farther than motivation ever will. The people who seem unstoppable are not necessarily more motivated than everyone else. They have simply learned a secret that changes everything. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates results. Once you understand that, consistency becomes much easier, and success becomes far more achievable. One of the greatest battles you will ever fight is not against failure, competition, or difficult circumstances. It is the battle for your attention. In today's world, attention has become one of the most valuable resources a person can possess. Every company, every social media platform, every advertisement, and every notification is competing for a piece of your focus. The problem is that most people surrender this battle before their day has even begun. Think about what happens during the first few minutes after waking up. For many people, the alarm goes off, and almost immediately they reach for their phone. Within moments, they are checking messages, scrolling through social media, reading news headlines, watching videos, or responding to notifications. Before they have had a chance to think about their own goals, their own priorities, or their own future, they are already consuming information created by other people. This habit may seem harmless, but it carries a hidden cost. The moment you begin your day reacting to external information, you lose control of your mental direction. Instead of deciding what deserves your focus, you allow the world to decide for you. Your mind becomes crowded with opinions, distractions, comparisons, and worries that have nothing to do with the life you are trying to build. Imagine waking up every morning and inviting hundreds of strangers into your room. Some are talking about politics, others are showing off their achievements, some are sharing problems, others are trying to sell you something. They all compete for your attention at the same time. Most people would never allow that to happen in real life. Yet that is exactly what occurs when they immediately open their phones after waking up. The most successful individuals understand that focus is not something that accidentally happens. It must be protected. They know that their mental energy is limited, and they refuse to waste it on things that do not contribute to their growth. Instead of starting their day by consuming information, they start by creating direction. They spend time thinking, planning, learning, exercising, journaling, or working toward important goals before the world has a chance to distract them. This simple shift creates a massive difference over time. When you begin your morning with intentional activities, you train your brain to focus on what truly matters. You strengthen your ability to concentrate. You become less reactive and more proactive. Rather than spending your day responding to every notification, you spend your day executing your own priorities. One reason social media can be so damaging in the morning is because it encourages comparison. You wake up and immediately see other people showing their success, vacations, achievements, relationships, or lifestyles. Without realizing it, you begin measuring your life against carefully selected highlights from someone else's. This can create feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, and frustration before your day has even started. The truth is that comparison steals focus. Every minute spent worrying about someone else's success progress is a minute not spent creating your own. The people who achieve remarkable things are not constantly watching what everyone else is doing. They are too busy working on themselves. They understand that growth requires concentration, and concentration requires protection. Consider the difference between a magnifying glass and scattered sunlight. Sunlight spread across a large area feels warm, but it rarely changes anything. However, when that same sunlight is focused through a magnifying glass, it becomes powerful enough to ignite a fire. Human attention works the same way. Scattered attention produces average results. Focused attention produces extraordinary results. This is why protecting your mind in the morning is so important. The first hour of your day acts like a foundation. If the foundation is filled with distraction, the rest of the day often follows the same pattern. But if the foundation is built on focus, clarity, and purpose, everything becomes easier. Decisions become clearer. Productivity increases. Confidence grows because you know you are directing your attention rather than losing it. The quality of your life is largely determined by what you consistently focus on. If your attention is always pulled toward distractions, your results will reflect that. If your attention is invested in learning, growth, health, and meaningful goals, your future will reflect those choices as well. Every morning presents a new opportunity to decide where your focus will go. Before reaching for your phone tomorrow, take a moment to invest in yourself first. Read something valuable, write down your goals, spend time in reflection, exercise, learn a new skill. Give your own mind the first portion of your attention before giving it to the world. When you protect your focus, you protect your future. And when you consistently protect your future every morning, you place yourself on a path that most people never have the discipline to follow. One of the biggest misconceptions about confidence is that people think it appears before action. They believe that confident people are somehow born with a special quality that allows them to take risks, stay disciplined, and pursue their goals without fear. But if you study the lives of successful individuals, you will discover something surprising. Confidence is not the cause of action. Confidence is the result of action. It is something that is built, piece by piece, through repeated experiences that prove to you that you can trust yourself. Every morning presents an opportunity to strengthen or weaken that trust. The choices you make during the first hour of your day may seem small, but they send powerful messages to your subconscious mind. When your alarm rings and you get out of bed as planned, you prove to yourself that your word matters. When you complete a workout, even when you don't feel like it, you prove that you can overcome resistance. When you spend time learning, planning, or working on your goals before distractions take over, you create evidence that you are capable of leading your life instead of reacting to it. Most people underestimate the importance of these small victories because they are focused on large achievements. They think confidence comes from winning awards, making a lot of money, getting recognition, or achieving major milestones. While those things can certainly boost confidence, the strongest and most lasting confidence is built in private moments that nobody else sees. It is built when you keep promises to yourself. Imagine two people. The first person constantly talks about their goals but rarely follows through. They promise themselves they will exercise, but they skip it. They promise themselves they will wake up early, but they hit snooze. They promise themselves they will work on a project, but they procrastinate. Over time, they begin to lose faith in themselves. Even if they don't say it out loud, a part of them starts believing that their own commitments cannot be trusted. The second person is different. They may not be perfect. They may not always feel motivated. They may struggle just like everyone else. But they consistently do what they say they are going to do. They honor their commitments, even in small ways. Day after day, they collect evidence that they are reliable. As a result, their confidence grows naturally because they know they can depend on themselves. This is why small morning wins are so powerful. They create momentum not only for productivity but also for self-belief. Every completed action becomes proof that you are capable. Every disciplined choice strengthens your identity. Every promise kept increases your self-respect. Over time, these experiences stack on top of each other until they form an unshakable foundation of confidence. Think about learning how to ride a bicycle. You do not become confident before getting on the bike. In fact, most people are nervous when they start. Confidence develops after repeatedly practicing, falling, getting back up, and improving. The same principle applies to every area of life. Confidence is earned through experience. It grows when you repeatedly prove to yourself that you can handle challenges and keep moving forward. Many people spend years searching for confidence when they should be building it. They wait until they feel confident enough to start a business, pursue a dream, improve their health, or make a major life change. But confidence rarely arrives first. Action comes first. Confidence follows. The more action you take, the more evidence you collect. The more evidence you collect, the stronger your belief in yourself becomes. This process begins in the morning because mornings are often where discipline is tested. First, the choices you make before the rest of the world becomes involved are deeply personal. Nobody is forcing you to wake up early. Nobody is forcing you to exercise. Nobody is forcing you to read, learn, or prepare for the day. When you choose to do these things voluntarily, you are demonstrating leadership over your own life. Over months and years, these small victories create a remarkable transformation. You stop doubting your ability to follow through. You stop relying on external validation to feel good about yourself. You no longer need constant encouragement from others because your confidence comes from something stronger. It comes from knowing that you have repeatedly shown up for yourself, even when it was difficult. The most confident people are not necessarily the most talented, the smartest, or the most fortunate. Often, they are simply the people who have built a long history of keeping promises to themselves. They have accumulated countless small wins that strengthen their self-respect and reinforce their belief that they can handle whatever comes next. Tomorrow morning, remember that confidence is not something you need to find. It is something you create. Every small win matters. Every disciplined action matters. Every promise kept matters. Collect enough of those victories, and you will build a level of confidence that cannot easily be shaken by setbacks, criticism, or temporary failures, because deep confidence is not based on what others think about you. It is based on what you know about yourself, and that knowledge is built one small morning win at a time. One of the biggest reasons people fail to reach their goals is because they underestimate the power of repetition. They become excited by the idea of success, but they lose interest in the process required to achieve it. They want dramatic results, fast transformations, and instant rewards. When those things do not appear quickly, they become discouraged and quit. What they fail to understand is that nearly every great achievement in life is built through simple actions repeated consistently over time. Success is rarely the result of one extraordinary effort. More often, it is the result of ordinary actions performed again and again until they create extraordinary outcomes. A single workout will not transform your body. One healthy meal will not make you fit. One productive morning will not change your future. But hundreds of workouts, hundreds of healthy choices, and hundreds of productive mornings can completely transform your life. Think about a stonecutter striking a large rock. The first strike appears to do nothing. The second strike seems equally ineffective. Even after dozens of strikes, the rock may look unchanged. But eventually, one final strike causes it to split in half. To an observer, it might seem as though the last strike was responsible for the result. In reality, every strike mattered. Every effort contributed to the outcome. Success works the same way. Progress often remains invisible until enough repetition has occurred. This is why consistency is more important than intensity. Many people start with enormous enthusiasm. They wake up at 5 a.m., work for hours, push themselves to extremes, and believe they will maintain that pace forever. But within days or weeks, exhaustion takes over and they quit. A smaller habit that you can repeat every day is far more powerful than a massive effort that lasts only a short time. The most successful people understand that repetition is not exciting, but it is effective. They do not depend on motivation. They depend on routines. They know that some days will feel easy and others will feel difficult. yet they continue anyway. They trust the process even when immediate results are not visible. Your morning routine is a perfect example of this principle. You may not notice a difference after one day of waking up with purpose. You may not see dramatic changes after a week. But if you continue for months and years, the results become impossible to ignore. The discipline you build, the skills you develop, and the confidence you gain begin to compound. Remember, your future is not determined by what you do occasionally. It is determined by what you do repeatedly. Greatness is not hidden in rare moments of inspiration. It is hidden in the daily habits that most people overlook. Master repetition, and you will eventually achieve results that once seemed impossible. Every person receives the same 24 hours in a day, yet the results people achieve can be dramatically different. The difference is often found in how they use the hours that most people ignore. While many individuals are still sleeping, delaying their alarms, or slowly drifting into another unplanned day, others are already investing in their future. They are exercising, learning, planning, creating, and taking action. Over time, this creates a gap that becomes impossible to ignore. The morning offers something incredibly valuable: control. Before the demands of the day begin, before messages start arriving, before responsibilities compete for your attention, you have a window of time that belongs entirely to you. This window may only last an hour, but it has the power to influence everything that follows. The way you use it can either move you closer to your goals or keep you trapped in the same cycle. Most people spend their mornings reacting. They react to notifications, social media updates, news headlines, and the expectations of others. As a result, they start the day in a defensive position, constantly responding to whatever comes their way. Successful people approach mornings differently. They use that quiet time to work on themselves before they work for anyone else. They understand that personal growth is not something that happens by accident. It requires deliberate effort. Imagine investing just 1 hour every morning into improving your life. 1 hour of exercise can improve your health. 1 hour of reading can expand your knowledge. 1 hour of focused work can move you closer to a major goal. These actions may not seem life-changing in a single day, but when repeated over months and years, they create extraordinary results. Small investments made consistently often produce larger rewards than occasional bursts of effort. The people we admire most are not always more talented than everyone else. Often they simply use their time differently. They took advantage of opportunities that others ignored. They understood that success is built long before the world notices it. The achievements people celebrate publicly are usually the result of countless private mornings filled with discipline and effort. Every sunrise brings a new opportunity. It is a chance to become stronger, wiser, more focused, and more prepared than you were yesterday. The future you dream about is not created in one big moment. It is created through small daily choices. When you choose to use your mornings with purpose, you begin building a future that reflects your ambitions rather than your excuses. The truth is simple. The life you want is often being built while most people are still asleep. The question is whether you will join those who invest in their future or remain among those who keep waiting for someday. Your mornings hold the answer, and every new day gives you another chance to choose.